Lady puts out food every day, but they say her cat died years ago. Cat's letter. Dear Lucinda, they say you still put food in my bowl every evening at 7 o'clock, even though I've been gone for 3 years now. The neighbors whisper about it when you're not listening. Some think you're confused, others call it denial. But I know better. I know why that ceramic dish still appears on the porch, filled with the salmon-flavored kibble I loved so much. I know why you still fill the water bowl until it catches the morning light just right. What they call strange, I call love. And love doesn't end just because one of us can't be seen anymore. I'm writing this letter from somewhere beyond your reach, but not beyond your heart. From here, I can watch you move about the house we shared for 16 years. I can see how your hands, more wrinkled now, but just as gentle, smooth my old blanket before you place it back in its spot by the window. Some mornings I think you can feel me too. When you pause in the hallway, tilt your head slightly, and smile at nothing in particular. Do you remember the day we found each other? It was spring in Camden, Maine, 1999. I was a skinny, flea-bitten mess hiding behind the dumpster at Pete's General Store. Everyone else walked by, but you stopped. You crouched down in your flowered dress, not caring that it might get dirty, and held out your hand. Well, aren't you a sight, you said, your voice low and kind. You look like you could use a friend. I didn't trust humans then. 3 months on the streets had taught me to expect the worst, but there was something in your eyes, a loneliness that matched my own. You didn't rush me. You sat on the ground and waited, talking softly about nothing important. How your garden needed work, how your coffee had been too bitter that morning, how the silence in your house had grown too loud since Harold passed. After a while, you opened your purse and pulled out half a tuna sandwich. I was saving this for later, you told me, but you look like you need it more than I do. When I finally came to you, trembling but hungry, you didn't grab me. You just smiled and whispered, "There you are. I've been waiting for you." The drive home was terrifying. I howled the entire way, but you just kept talking in that steady voice of yours. "It's going to be all right, Winston. That's what I'm going to call you, Winston. A dignified name for a dignified fellow." By the time we reached the little blue house on Willow Lane, I had worn myself out with fear. You carried me inside, wrapped in your cardigan, and for the first time in my short life, I felt safe. Those first weeks were an adjustment for both of us. You'd been alone for 2 years since Harold died, set in your ways. I'd never lived indoors, didn't understand furniture or the startling flush of toilets, but we figured it out together. You laughed when I discovered the heating vent in the living room and made it my personal warming spot. "Clever boy," you called me, making yourself right at home. Remember how I used to wake you every morning at exactly 6:17? Not 6:15 or 6:20, but always 6:17. I'd jump on the bed and gently pat your face with my paw until you opened your eyes. "Good morning, my alarm clock," you'd mumble, your voice thick with sleep. Then you'd pull back the covers and let me curl up against your side for those precious 15 minutes before the day truly began. Those were some of my favorite moments, just us, breathing together in the quiet dawn while the rest of the world was still asleep. Breakfast was always our special ritual. You'd have your toast and coffee and I'd have my kibble, but we both knew I'd end up with a small piece of your toast, lightly buttered just the way I liked it. "Don't tell Dr. Martinez," you'd whisper conspiratorially, as if our veterinarian had spy cameras in the kitchen. "She thinks I'm following your diet plan." Then you'd wink at me, and I'd purr so loud the spoon would rattle against your coffee cup. The seasons shaped our days together. In summer, I'd follow you into the garden, supervising your work from the shade of the hydrangea bush. You'd talk to me about the neighbors, local gossip, your worries about your daughter Elaine, who lived too far away in Arizona. I was a good listener. Sometimes you'd look at me and say, "Winston, I don't know what I'd do without these conversations." I understood. The words mattered less than having someone to speak them to. Fall was my favorite. The windows would be open, and the smell of apples and cinnamon would fill the kitchen while you baked pies for the church bake sale. I'd watch from my spot on the counter. Yes, I know I wasn't supposed to be up there, but you always let me stay. "My official taste tester," you'd say, letting me lick a tiny bit of whipped cream from your finger. When winter came, we'd huddle together by the fireplace. You with your knitting, me curled on the footstool beside your chair. Snow would pile up on the windowsills, and the world would grow quiet. On those long evenings, you'd sometimes talk about Harold, how he laughed too loud at his own jokes, How he could fix anything with duct tape and determination. How in the end his heart simply grew too tired to keep beating. But my heart didn't stop with his, you told me once, stroking my back. And that surprised me more than anything. Spring always brought renewal. You'd open all the windows despite the chill, declaring, "This house needs to breathe again." I'd sit in the windowsill, watching robins return and daffodils push through the soil. You'd put on old records, Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra, and sometimes you'd even dance a little, holding me in your arms like a baby. "Winston," you'd say, "every spring is a gift. Remember that." Our life wasn't always peaceful, of course. Remember that terrible thunderstorm in 2007? I was so frightened I climbed up the bookshelf and couldn't get down. You stood on a chair at age 72, risking a fall to rescue me. Or the time I knocked over your mother's antique vase while chasing a moth. I thought you might be angry, but you just swept up the pieces and said, "Things break. That's what things do. You matter more." There was the Christmas when Elaine and her family visited, bringing their dog Murphy, that oversized, slobbering golden retriever who thought he was my new best friend. I hid under the bed for 2 days, coming out only when you'd bring plates of turkey and dressing to me. "I know, Winston," you'd sympathize. "Relatives can be exhausting." And how could I forget Mrs. Patterson from next door, who complained about me sitting on the fence watching her bird feeder? You stood your ground with such polite firmness. "Winston is just being a cat, Doris. The birds are smarter than you think." You were always my defender. Do you remember when I turned 10 and you threw me a birthday party? Just the two of us. But you made a tiny cake of tuna and wore a paper hat. You sang happy birthday and took photos, which you later put in that scrapbook you kept on the coffee table. "My boy is getting distinguished silver whiskers," you told me, pointing to the white hairs appearing around my face. "We're growing older together, with dignity." As the years went by, I noticed you moving more slowly up the stairs. Your hands would sometimes shake when you poured your tea, but your voice remained strong when you read aloud in the evenings, those mysteries you loved so much. I'd listen to every word, watching your face as you tried to solve the puzzle before the detective did. I slowed down too. My jumps to the windowsill became less graceful. Sometimes I'd miss and pretend I meant to land on the floor. You noticed but never mentioned it. Instead, you quietly placed an ottoman beneath the window, a subtle step to help me reach my favorite spot. That was your way, making accommodations without making a fuss, preserving my dignity. When I turned 15, things began to change more rapidly. My appetite wasn't what it used to be. You tried everything. Expensive foods from the pet boutique in town, bits of roasted chicken, even the tuna juice I once loved. "Just a few bites for me, Winston," you'd encourage, your voice betraying your worry. You'd sit on the floor beside me while I ate, as if your presence might strengthen me. Dr. Martinez started visiting the house instead of us going to her office. I appreciated that. Car rides had become uncomfortable for my old bones. "He's a senior gentleman now," she explained, as if you didn't already know. "We need to keep him comfortable." You nodded seriously, taking notes on the little pad you kept by the phone. Later I'd watch you research on that computer Elaine had insisted you learn to use. "Caring for geriatric cats," you typed with 2 fingers, slowly but determined. The medicine routine became part of our days. Pills hidden in soft food, the sticky liquid you'd gently syringe into my mouth. "I'm sorry, Winston," you'd whisper when I made faces at the bitter taste. "I know it's not pleasant, but it will help." And it did, for a while. You started carrying me up and down the stairs. Your personal elevator service, you'd joke, though I could feel the strain in your arms. You moved my bed to the sunniest spot in the living room, where I could watch the birds at the feeder. On warm days, you'd take me outside, settling me on a blanket while you gardened nearby, always keeping me in your sight. At night, even though your doctor had advised against it, you'd still let me sleep on your bed. "What does Dr. Peterson know about companionship?" you'd ask as you lifted me gently onto the quilt. We both needed that closeness, perhaps more than ever. I knew you were worried about money. I heard your phone conversations with Elaine about the vet bills. "It's my money to spend," you told her firmly. "Winston has been with me through everything. I won't shortchange him now." After those calls, you'd come find me, needing the simple comfort of running your hand along my fur. The day came when even your touch couldn't ease my pain. It was autumn again, my favorite season, Leaves were turning gold and red outside the window. You'd made apple pie that morning, and the house smelled like cinnamon and home. But I couldn't get comfortable no matter how you arranged my blankets. You called Dr. Martinez, your voice steady even as tears ran down your face. While we waited, you sat on the floor next to my bed and told me stories, all our greatest hits. The time I caught the mouse in the pantry and proudly displayed it in your slipper. The summer afternoon when the sprinkler system surprised us both. The snowy morning when neither of us wanted to get out of bed, so we didn't until noon. "You've been the best friend I could ask for," you whispered, your voice finally breaking. "You found me when I was lost, Winston. You brought me back to life. I wanted to tell you that you'd done the same for me, but I could only press my head weakly against your hand. When Dr. Martinez arrived, you knew what needed to be done. She explained everything gently, and you nodded, your hand never leaving my fur. "Can we do it here by the window?" you asked. It's his favorite spot. They prepared everything while you held me, telling me I was brave and good and loved beyond measure. "I'll be right here," you promised, as the doctor prepared the injection. "Right here the whole time." And you were. The last thing I felt was your kiss on the top of my head, your tears falling into my fur. The last thing I heard was your voice. "Thank you, my Winston. Thank you for everything." They say that when a beloved pet dies, they don't really leave. They say we stick around watching over our people. I don't know if that's true for all animals, but it's true for me. I couldn't bear to leave you alone in that house that suddenly seemed too big, too quiet. So I stayed. I stay still. I'm there when you wake up at 6:17 every morning, a habit your body won't unlearn. I'm there when you reach automatically for my food bowl before remembering, then reaching for it anyway. I'm there in the garden when you look up from your flowers, expecting to see me in my usual spot under the hydrangea. And yes, Lucinda, I'm there every evening at 7 o'clock when you place fresh food and water on the porch. The neighbors don't understand. Elaine worries on the phone, suggesting gently that it might be time to let go. But you just smile that private smile and keep our ritual alive. Here's what they don't see. The stray tabby who started appearing a few months ago, cautious but hungry. You noticed her right away. She's not you. You told the empty air, told me. But she needs help too. You didn't rush her. You sat on the porch steps and waited, talking softly about your day, about the weather, about me, exactly as you'd done with me all those years ago. She's getting braver. Yesterday she ate while you were still on the porch. Soon, she'll let you touch her. Perhaps by winter she'll be inside, discovering the wonder of heating vents and the comfort of belonging. Her name is Marigold, you've decided. A bright name for a cautious soul. I don't feel jealous. How could I? Love multiplies. It doesn't divide. There's room in your heart for both of us. Besides, I know our bond remains unbroken. I see it in the way you still talk to me sometimes, especially in the garden. I see it in how carefully you dust the framed photo of me that sits on your bedside table. I see it in the small cedar box on the mantel that holds what was left of me after the flame. What we had doesn't end, Lucinda. It just changes form, like water to vapor. Unseen but absolutely present. Love is energy, and energy never disappears. It only transforms. So please don't let the neighbors' whispers bother you. Don't let Elaine's concerns make you doubt yourself. Keep putting out the food if it brings you peace. Our rituals honor what we were to each other, and that's never foolish. I'll be waiting in all the places we loved. The sunny patch on the living room floor, the garden bench where you read on summer afternoons, the foot of your bed where I slept for 16 years. Wherever you are, some part of me is there too, just out of sight, but never truly gone. One day, when your time comes, though please don't rush it, I'll be waiting. Ready to run to you without aching joints or failing kidneys. Ready to jump into your arms the way I did when I was young and you were stronger. Until then, live well. Garden fiercely. Eat the toast with extra butter sometimes. Be kind to Marigold, but don't expect her to be me. And know this truth that transcends all boundaries. You are loved, Lucinda. You are so deeply loved. Forever your faithful companion, Winston.